She puts on the same show again tonight. The microwave is still running. Her shoes are near the sofa, not on it. Priya is asleep in the next room. Her name is Camille. She is 34. She works in accounting. She has watched this episode 11 times. She is not watching it. She is inside it, and I want to be careful about how I explain that, because the easy version of this story is flattering, and the full version is harder. Jaye Derrick at the University of Houston ran 2 studies on exactly this. She tracked people through full days of strain, effortful work, social friction, decision after small, exhausting decision, and when they came home depleted, they did not reach for something new. They reached for something known, a favorite show, a familiar world, and after immersing in it, their self-control came back, not because the show distracted them, but because it demanded nothing. Your brain is doing triage. Every choice costs something real. Every interaction requires output. By the time you press play, you have already spent yourself. You are not being passive, you are being precise. That part is true, and I want you to hold it. But there is a second thing happening that is harder to sit with. Camille grew up in an unpredictable home, not violent, just unreliable. Some nights dinner was warm and quiet. Some nights the air had that weight, the kind you felt before anyone spoke and you never knew which version you were walking into. So she learned to read rooms, she learned to sense the temperature before entering. She got very good at it quietly without anyone asking her to. Now she is 34. She reads every room she enters. She knows before the meeting starts who is upset. She adjusts before anyone asks. She is who people bring the difficult things to. She built her whole life on that, and she goes home every night and puts on a show where she already knows every temperature before it arrives. Constantine Sedikides at the University of Southampton has studied nostalgia for decades. His research found that nostalgia restores what he calls self-continuity, the felt sense that who you are now connects to who you were before. When that thread frays from pressure or loss or change that moved too fast, nostalgia pulls it tighter. You are not escaping the present. You are reaching for proof that a self existed before the wait arrived. For Camille, the show is not entertainment, it is a timestamp. Evidence she existed before the managing began, a version of her who laughed without scanning first. That is real. I am not dismissing it. But here, I have to be honest with you. Watch what gets passed down in homes like Camille's, not through conversations, through pattern. The child watches what a parent reaches for when the day has been too much. They learn before they have language for it that when the world becomes overwhelming, you pull towards something contained and known. A generation of children absorbed that lesson. The millennials who found their shows after 2008, the Gen Z kids who rewatched through 2020 were not discovering a coping strategy. They were recognizing one. Something already written in them from watching someone they loved choose quiet retreat over difficult presence. That is not a judgment. It is just what gets carried without anyone deciding to carry it. Now here's the part I want you to actually feel, not just understand. The attunement that drives Camille toward predictability is the same attunement that makes her extraordinary. She reads people with accuracy that feels like a gift. She senses what others need before they say it. She is irreplaceable in every difficult room. She is proud of that. She should be. Her perception did not come from nowhere. It was trained in a child who could not afford surprise, who learned that reading the room correctly was how you stayed safe. Her competence is real, and it is also armor. And she has worn it long enough that she sometimes cannot tell the difference between being perceptive and being on guard. What she is most proud of is built on the same foundation as the thing that exhausts her most. I do not know if that lands cleanly. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes it just sits there uncomfortable and unresolved like most true things. Shira Gabriel at the University of Buffalo tested what she called the social surrogacy hypothesis. Parasocial relationships with fictional characters can reduce genuine feelings of loneliness, not distract from loneliness, reduce it. Her studies showed that thinking about a favorite show buffered people against the emotional drop that follows rejection or disconnection. Less lonely, not performing, being okay. Less actually lonely. That finding is real, and it matters. But Gabriel also noted, and this is the part most summaries skip, that social surrogacy is a substitute, not a supply. The characters are always available. They do not disappoint. They do not misread you. They do not need anything back. And over time, the brain learns the ratio. Real people, unpredictable, costly, sometimes painful. Fictional world, safe, available, non-demanding. You do not decide to prefer the fictional world. Your nervous system starts doing the math and the wall goes up. Not because you chose isolation, but because safety kept winning every time you ran the comparison. The wall was built in intelligence. Every brick is a real memory of a time when unpredictability hurt. but walls do not know when the war ended, and nobody comes to tell you. Derrick's research has a quieter finding that rarely gets cited. When familiar fictional worlds become your primary method of restoration, you reduce your exposure to productive discomfort. The brain stops practicing uncertainty, and anything it does not practice, it begins to classify as threat. The show that helps you recover tonight trains your system to need more recovery tomorrow. Not because you are broken, but because the brain optimizes efficiently for exactly what you give it. That process is slow. You will not notice it happening. You will just notice that new things started feeling harder, that you stopped returning messages as quickly, that the show started going on earlier. Nobody pointed to the day it changed. There was no day, just a slow drift toward the one thing that never asked for anything. Here's what I want to say, and then I will stop. This behavior is intelligent, it is also costly. Both are true at once, and the version that tells you only one of them is the easier script to write. The shift is not about watching less. It is about watching with a specific kind of honesty. When you press play tonight, notice what ran out today. Notice what you are restoring, and notice if restoration is the whole reason. Because sometimes it is. And sometimes the show is a wall you have been calling rest. You already know which one it is tonight. You do not need me to tell you. So I want to ask you something specific. Think back to the show you return to most. The first time you ever watched it, what was happening in your life? Not the general version, the specific one, the week. The thing you do not usually mention, write that in the comments. Not which show, just what was going on. Because I read these, and what I keep finding is that the show is never really the thing. It is the moment right before it, and what was missing from that moment. When you can name that, you will understand something about yourself that no episode could ever tell you. Being seen is the first step to coming home.